good day to you, beloved of God. Greetings from Suriname, and it is again a pleasure to be with you. Let's continue with our study with regard to the end times beyond the eras of the nations. I left you last time with a slide containing one question. Remember, I hope you came up with your own answer for yourself, and let's see if it agrees with mine. So the question is about the image in the dream of Nebuchadnezzar. How can the stone that was hewn off without hands collide only with the feet, and as a result the whole image got pulverized? How is that possible? Let's take a look. The red line in that image is Babylon spiritually. It starts with Babylon, the head of gold, here, but I don't even mean this one, but because this is Neo-Babylon, the Neo-Babylonian Empire. There was an original one, founded by Nimrod, as you know, and his wife Semiramis, and they started the idolatry in a big, huge way. And the red line, which is Babylon in that whole image, is especially about idolatry, but also about the political sway of Babylon, starting with Nimrod in general, but the political sway over Israel that all these empires had and still have and will have in the near future. So it began all in Babylon. And now the question becomes, what began in Babylon? What exactly? This. 3 factors. The first one is rebellion. And I think that's also the name of the meaning of the name of Nimrod, rebellion. Man wanted to make a name for whom? For himself, through the building of the Tower of Babel. So rebellion against God, of course. The second factor is worship of false gods or idols. And the third factor is confusion. Babylon or Babel means confusion also. So these characteristics continued in the eras of the nations, which both began and also will culminate in Babylon in the end times. Important to see that and to remember it, because it will enhance your vision about the end times. So, first a little sidestep. Let's see, in the beginning of this current eon, we see that everything went apart first. So, because of the language confusion, because man wanted to make a name for himself by building the Tower of Babel that will reach unto the heavens, so to speak. However, the point is that was an act of rebellion, and God finished that immediately by confusing their languages, and that created different groups, each group with the same language, and those groups went apart and moved to various places on earth. They became nations. And after every group went apart and found their specific spot on the earth was at a time still one big continent, and then an earthquake came in the days of Peleg. You can read about that in Genesis 10:25, I think. The biggest earthquake so far was in the days of Peleg, and that resulted in that continent, Earth, to be torn apart into continents, islands, and peninsulas. Initially, these continents drifted apart at great speed. As time progressed, that speed became slower and slower, and it is still drifting today. I've understood years ago that the Atlantic Ocean, as an example, increases year by year with an amount of 5 to 6 centimeters per year. It's very small, of course, looking at the size of the ocean. But the point is, the continents are still drifting. That's the point. And in the end time, in the end of this current eon, which comes very soon, everything converges again. So first everything diverged in the beginning of the eon, and everything will come back together. It will converge. There will probably again in the end time one world language, but this time through technology, quantum technology. Excuse me. There will be at least 3 huge earthquakes mentioned in Revelation. The first one in chapter 11 verse 13. It results in a tenth part of the city, which is Jerusalem, falls. And also 7,000 names die. 7,000 men of renown, well-known names. The second earthquake is in Revelation 6:14, which results in every mountain and island moved from their place. How about that? That is huge. Huge earthquake. I think earth-wide across the whole world. And the third one, that takes the cake. Revelation 16, verse 18 through 20, where it results in the fall of all cities of the nations. Again, just imagine this. All the cities you know of, they will be destroyed. Earth-wide. With this last and biggest ever earthquake. And it is written that the islands and mountains are no longer found. First they were moved from their place, and then with the last one, they are no longer found. I think that all continents, they drift back to each other. All the islands also, they drift back to each other. So again, there will be one total continent in the next eon, just like in the second eon. And you can also imagine, hopefully, that earthquake will be so big that mountains are crumbling down. There will be no more mountains except for Zion. Probably hills, but not mountains anymore. That's what I read here. Mountains are no longer found. Okay, these are huge developments that are awaiting the ones who will be on the earth in that time. We continue with the image in the dream of Nebuchadnezzar. This image is connected to one whole, again, as I said already earlier, because of the common factor, namely Babylon, and especially spiritually speaking. So let's take a quick look at the empires again in that image, and let's see what binds them together. The Babylonian Empire, the Neo-Babylonian Empire, has Babylon as its capital, both spiritually and physically. The Medo-Persian Empire also has or had Babylon as its capital, both spiritually and physically. Same kind of idolatry. The Greco-Macedonian Empire, the same thing. They had Babylon as their capital, both spiritually and physically. However, the Roman Empire did not have Babylon as their physical capital, but they had Babylon as their spiritual capital. For sure, they imported young men from the Mesopotamian region. Did you know that? They imported a lot of these young men, and these married Roman wives. So that's why you will see in Italy, especially from the Toscanian region southwards, the Italians have dark hair. But above Tuscany, you will see that they more have dark blonde hair. So, especially around Rome in Italy, these men were imported, so to speak, from Mesopotamia, black-haired young men, and they brought with them what? Their idolatry. And it was very early already in the times of Julius Caesar. So some decades before Christ. So this is the situation with the Roman Empire. They had all that idolatry from Babylon as well. And also, by the way, the Greco-Macedonian Empire, same thing. So, this is the common factor, Babylon. And this also will be the case in the 7th and the 8th empire in the end times. Because there will be 2 empires in the end times. The 7th one and the 8th one, we will come back to that later. They will have Babylon as their capital. First, only spiritual. First spiritually, and after that also physically. Spiritually and physically. Alright. The Babylonian system of false worship will be struck to the heart. The city of Babylon, that is in the end of the end times, it will be completely destroyed for the first time and immediately also the last time. Revelation 17 and 18, read about that. Babylon was never destroyed before. Never. It deteriorated. It got a bit deserted, desolate a bit. Not in the sense of destroyed, but people went away to other cities. So it's still there, Babylon. It's still there, not destroyed. But in the end times, it will be very prominent again. The huge armies of the beast will literally, at the end of the end times, be crushed like grapes in the wine trough. It will be unbelievable. And who will crush them? Of course, Christ Jesus, the risen one, the one who returns as the King of Kings. The entire converged system in the end times, which characterizes this present evil eon, this third eon, will thus be completely destroyed, and not a trace of it will be found again. Will not happen. And now you also understand better, hopefully, that those feet of that image, they are also a convergence of all that characterizes this present wicked eon. So when the stone hits those feet, then the whole image pulverizes immediately in the reverse order and will be traceless, will be untraceable. Like I said earlier, there are no gaps in the timeline. Also very important to understand. No gaps in the timeline. These empires, they followed up each other seamlessly. And if there are no gaps in time from the destruction of Jerusalem and the temple by Nebuchadnezzar, then the political empires succeeded each other immediately, more or less by conquest. And that happened. That actually happened. A little remark here. After Alexander the Great died, his empire was divided in four between his four generals. But then the Roman Empire later conquered those empires, especially, and that was also the most predominant empire, the northern part. And that's the Seleucid Empire, I think, if I'm pronouncing it correctly. So it's all more or less by conquest, and it's immediately. So those four generals you also count among the Greco-Macedonian Empire, obviously. Then we are also, if there are no time gaps in time, then we are also still living in the time of the Roman Empire. And yes, that's the case. We didn't know it, but it is the case. Let's take a look in what sense that is. From the decline of the Western Empire, an Eastern Empire arose, led by Constantine the Great, Emperor Constantine the Great, with the capital in Istanbul. The city was first renamed in Constantinople, and now it is called Istanbul, which is the largest city in Turkey, and the capital nowadays is Ankara. However, even earlier than the Eastern Empire, the Roman Catholic Church arose and claimed more and more political influence. And that influence she got, for sure. And it was greatly expanded. So please remember, the Roman Catholic Church has two functions, if you want. It has a religious function, yes, as the core of Christianity. That's where Christianity, as we know it, started. And it was based on idolatry, Babylonian idolatry. But it also has a political function, and it had already very early since its inception. So please remember that, because it is important. However, this is important as well to understand the bigger picture. In the Middle East, the Roman Catholic Church was unable to exert any influence. Above all, it couldn't get a grip on that culture, the Middle Eastern culture. My suspicion, and I put it weakly now, I put it mildly, my suspicion, although it is often denied, but I suspect that there was a strategic move of the Roman Catholic Church to create a religion that appealed to the Middle Eastern culture. And you know what religion that is, and that has become. In addition, the influence increasingly expanded partly by setting up a control structure based on laws and possession. And this is huge, more than you think. I'm not going to expound too much on it, but it was discovered quite a while ago that all the earth, all the land on earth, belonged to the Queen of England. But she was just a middleman, so to speak, because through her it belonged to the Vatican. All the land on earth. And I say belonged in the past tense because I know some stuff which I won't mention, but I would say officially in the mainstream media it belongs to the Vatican. So this is just one part, and that's the part of possession, but also the laws, and these laws are also imposed to a certain extent to the governments of the world. So make no mistake, we are still living officially in the Roman Empire, definitely. So especially behind the scenes, political influence was exercised by the Roman Catholic Church for centuries, and still is, while this control structure ensured that what the church wanted also happened. I think I'm going to leave it here. So thank you for watching and hope to see you next time.